This is why you're still stuck in place, why you're still anxious, why everything seems like such a damn challenge, and why you might be grinding yourself into the ground and feeling like you're miserable every single day. Hey there, I'm Dan Candell. I'm known worldwide as the anxiety relief guy. And if you're new to me, welcome to the conversation. If you're not, welcome back. It's great to have you here as part of the conversation. And it's my job to help you unfuck your mind, my friend. And I do so using a subconscious and nervous system protocol that I call the subconscious sync method. I do a group every Thursday, do a clearing group where we clear out the internal emotional shit that's keeping you clogged and preventing you from growing. And I did this as a session in my group a couple of weeks ago, and I want to share some highlights to help you so you can gain some insight into some shifts you might want to make. Specifically, if you feel like you're running on empty and you're trying to run a business, you're trying to grow your business, or you're even trying to grow in your career and everything seems like such a damn challenge, you're frustrated, you're burnt out, you're running on a low tank, and it feels like you're just so scattered and you're wondering, like, do things get easier or is this how things are going to be? Well, it depends where your mind is. So I'm going to teach you how you can start making some changes to stop those patterns of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, even frustration, because it's a really aggravating place to be if you keep trying to grind your gears and it feels like there's a lot of resistance there. So here we go. We operate on 3 levels: have to, choose to, get to. When we're younger, most of the things that we're doing are in the have to category. I also feel like that's why so many teenagers are burnt out, depressed, and anxious, because they're operating in a big part of have to. And when they start doing things that they feel like they want to do or get to do, they're told they can't do them. A lot of teenagers, they just want to party, play video games, do extracurricular activities, have fun, interact and engage with each other, or go on their computer or go on their phone. And when they're told they can't do that, guess what happens? Depression and anxiety. Guess what happens though in your adult life? When you're operating in that phase of have to so much in your adult life, the same thing happens. Anxiety, feeling stressed and depressed, feeling overwhelmed. Everything seems like a struggle. Everything seems like a challenge. You have a short fuse. You start to get frustrated with yourself and other people. So many of us, the reason why we're in that mental is because we're living in that have to phase of life, where everything seems like a chore and we feel like we have to. A lot of people in their career feel that way because they're sick and tired of the grind and they feel like they have to go to work. They feel like they have to please other people. They feel like they have to do all these things. Now, don't get me wrong. We all have responsibilities. We all do. However, when those responsibilities, when we're living too much in that phase of have to, that's where things don't work for us. And that's where we just go, zoom. How do you get out of that phase of life? How do you get out of that phase of life? That's a really good question. I wish I had the answer. No, I do. So remember, there are 3 phases. There's have to, there's choose to, there's get to. So in order to get out of the have to phase of life, we want to start working in the choose to phase, where we start making choices that are our own choices. And we start to choose what we want to do. And we integrate a little bit more of what we want to do. For example, I'll just talk from my life. You're watching my video, why not? So one of the things I felt like I had to do when I first became a hypnotist and a coach, I thought I had to work with every single person that called me. And whether they could afford me or not, I would create some sort of plan where I could help them. And I thought I had to do that. As a consequence, I was burning out. I was seeing like 8 to 12 clients a day. I was going in doing comedy shows at night. I was doing presentations on the weekends, and I was just burnt out. And I realized I don't have to do that. I started to hate my job. I started to be miserable. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to stop? Like, is this what success looks like? And I used to think that success was the grind, until I realized it doesn't have to be like that. Unfortunately, it took a major tragedy to see that life doesn't have to be like that. So after that tragedy, I started focusing more on making choices that filled my tank instead of drained my tank. And that's what I help people do in my practice or in my program. I help people do things that fill the tank instead of drain the tank. And a part of that is core values work, identity work, belief work. Like we have to do all that work. We want to do all that work in order to level up people's mentalities and level up their attitude. So that way they're not a shit person. Because when we're living in that have to phase of life, guess what happens? We become miserable. We become really shitty, negative, toxic people. No bueno. That's what we call a no bueno situation. So we have to. Now, when we get out of the have to stage of life, we do this by making choices and starting to integrate more of what we want by making choices that please and appease us, not so much everyone else. And we get out of that constant chronic responsibility phase where we feel like we have to do everything. For some people, this means making some really big changes. Some people, it might be a change of job, a change of career, a change of relationship. And sometimes those things aren't easy. But in order to get to that next phase, we've got to make some of those changes. But for many of us, guess what? It's not that complicated. For many of us, it's just a shift on the inside. That's it. It's just an inner shift. An inner shift. That's why I do my inner shift system with a lot of people. So they get the shift on the inside. And it's like, ooh, that feels good. So when we start making more choices that are in line with our values, with who we want to be and our identity, then we can start reprogramming our minds so it feels like we're living in the get-to phase. The get-to phase is where you are living in alignment, fulfillment, and simplicity. Things don't seem like a friggin' struggle. They seem easy. They seem fulfilling. And it's like, oh, that's a good place to be, right? For a lot of people who own their businesses and they take the struggle out of their business, that's how they feel. That's how I feel in my business. This, recording videos, I love to record videos. Working with clients one-on-one, as long as it's only 3 or 4 people a day, 3 days a week, I'm living in the get-to phase. I love that. Doing my group sessions once or twice a week, I love that because it opens me up to having higher power conversations with people. Hanging out with my friends, going out to dinner. I love that. Actually, right after I record this video, I'm heading out to go out to dinner with a bunch of my friends. And I absolutely love that. I do that twice a week. So when you start to operate in the get-to phase, things just seem a lot easier. But you might be wondering, how do we get out of the have-to phase into the choose-to phase, out of the choose-to phase into the get-to phase? It's all about doing the inner work and making those inner shifts. And that's where a big part of the work that I'm doing is acceptance. It's value work. It's identity work where I'm shifting people's identities. It's trauma work because, again, the reason why so many people are stuck in that have to phase of life where they feel like everything's a damn chore, they have to, is because a lot of the trauma that they've had is keeping them stuck there because they don't know anything different other than operating in fucking chaos. And guess what happens when we operate in fucking chaos? We become chaotic and it spills over into other areas of our life. And it's... I digress. I used to be like that. And I'll tell you, like, I do have a lot of responsibilities in my life now, but they're not responsibilities that I feel pulled like I have to do them. I feel like even the responsibilities, I feel like this is okay. I get to do this. This is okay. Like I take care of my mom. Like, okay, I get to do this. This is okay. Because there are things that I do to fill my tank, and I do more to fill my tank than to drain my tank. So if you want to make some of those shifts, then let's get to talking and let's get to working. If you want to get out of the have to phase of life and into the get to phase of life, let's do some work. Because it means if you're having a struggle doing that, it means there's resistance somewhere. It means that your mind ain't on board. It means your mind is working against you and it's not working for you. So with that said, you probably could benefit from having a conversation with me so I can help you reprogram your subconscious mind and do some somatic work so that way we can get all those stuck shitty emotions out of your nervous system so you become a better person. And if you don't want to be a better person, you want to stay a shit person, I totally understand. We need shitty people in this world. Actually, no, we don't. We don't need shitty people in this world. But you know what? Some people just don't realize that they're shitty, but they really... Anyway, with that said, my friends, I hope this helped. I hope you also got some comedy relief seeing me freak out. With that said, as always, be well, do good, be true to who you are, happy healing. And if you do want to have a conversation, link is down below this video. Bye for now.